I had just landed after brain surgery, exhausted and alone, when my family group chat told me to get an Uber. What they didn't know. Someone powerful had seen their coldness and decided I deserved better. When he showed up at my sister's wedding, everything changed. 3 months before that airport text, everything started with a headache. At first, I blamed the stressed 12-hour shifts in the pediatric oncology ward would wear anyone down. I chalked up the dizziness to exhaustion and the blurry vision to too much screen time. But when I nearly missed an 4 insertion on a child fighting leukemia, I knew something was wrong. The MRI results came back quickly. Meningioma, a benign brain tumor. That word benign sounds comforting until you hear the next part located right up against my optic nerve. If it grew even a few millimeters, I could lose my sight permanently. Worse, the surgery to remove it was delicate and dangerous. My neurologist in Seattle didn't mince words. There are only 3 surgeons in the country I'd trust with this. You'll need to go to Houston Dr. Martinez. He's the best. The best came with a price. A 2-week recovery minimum in a city where I knew no one. Dr. Martinez was kind but firm during our video consultation. You cannot go through this alone. You'll need someone with you at discharge. You can't fly by yourself, I nodded. I'll have support. That was a lie. A practiced one. Because when you've spent your whole life being the backup plan, the last call, the family disappointment, they don't show up. Not for surgery, not for anything. Still, I posted in our family group chat. Surgery's on March 15th. I'll be in Houston at Methodist Hospital if anyone wants to visit. Mom replied with a thumbs up emoji. Jessica didn't reply at all. My cousin Beth sending prayers. No one booked a flight. No one offered to come. I kept hoping right up until the hospital gown was tied and the anesthesia mask was pressed to my face that someone would surprise me. They didn't. So I flew to Houston alone, facing the most terrifying moment of my life, armed with discharge instructions and denial. But what none of them knew, what I didn't even know yet, was that the universe was watching. And it was about to send someone who cared more about me than my own blood ever had. This was the beginning of the end. And the start of something much, much better. Recovery from brain surgery is brutal physically, mentally, emotionally. But nothing prepared me for how lonely it would feel. The day after my operation, I woke up in a cold hospital room in Houston with tubes in my arm and a pounding skull. The pain meds made me nauseous, and the fluorescent lights felt like knives behind my eyes. I reached for my phone. Maybe someone had messaged. Maybe my family cared, just a little. Nope, nothing. I scrolled through the group chat. No check-ins. No, how did it go? No, we're thinking of you. Just Jessica posting about her bridal shower playlist. Beth sent a meme. Mom asked if anyone had Tupperware to bring to Easter brunch. I put my phone down and stared at the ceiling. The nurses became my lifeline. They noticed, of course. When you spend years taking care of others, you get good at spotting the forgotten ones. One nurse, Maria, started taking her lunch breaks in my room, claiming she needed a quiet space to catch up on notes. But I knew the truth. She didn't want me to feel invisible. "Where's your family, honey?" she asked one afternoon, gently squeezing my hand. "They're busy," I mumbled. She didn't say anything. Just sat with me, holding the silence so I didn't have to. The days blurred together in a mix of pain, disorientation, and the sharp clarity of abandonment. I wasn't just healing from brain surgery, I was waking up to the reality of my place in my family. I'd always known I was the afterthought. The one who lent money and gave rides and canceled plans to help. But this silence was different. It was a declaration. You don't matter. And the worst part, I almost believed it. But the nurses reminded me otherwise. They brought me extra blankets, found me snacks I could keep down, and made sure someone was always nearby when I needed help. Maria even braided my hair one morning when I couldn't to lift my arms long enough to do it myself. "We take care of our own," she said. It hit me harder than I expected. Because maybe family isn't just who shares your blood. Maybe it's who shows up when you're broken with no expectations, no performance, just love. That hospital room was supposed to be a place of recovery. It became the place I realized I deserved better. And someone had already noticed. Discharge day arrived like a finish line I hadn't trained for. My head still throbbed despite the pain meds, and every step felt like walking through mud. But I was cleared to fly barely. The nurses helped me pack, hugged me like family, and Maria whispered, "Someone better be waiting for you in Seattle." I smiled and nodded. Then I sat down at Gate 34 in Houston and opened the family group chat. My flight lands at 1 o'clock p.m. Can someone pick me up? Just had surgery and can't drive. 17 people were in that chat, all within 20 minutes of SeaTac Airport. I waited, nausea building, not from the meds this time, but from dread. The replies came fast. "Mom, we're too busy today. Just call an Uber. Jessica, why don't you ever plan ahead? Robert and I have wedding prep all day. Beth, wish I could. The kids have soccer. Uncle Jim, working today. Aunt Carol, Saturday's tough." One by one, the excuses piled in, short, dismissive, like I'd asked someone to grab milk. Not pick me up from the airport after brain surgery. No one asked how the surgery went. No one asked if I was okay. No one even acknowledged what I'd just been through. Then, mid-rejection, Jessica sent a photo of 2 wedding centerpiece options. "Which do you like better, the roses or the peonies?" And just like that, the chat exploded with opinions. Suddenly, everyone had time. Paragraphs about floral symbolism. Polls about color coordination. My message sat there, unacknowledged like a ghost in the thread. I typed, "Okay." Jessica instantly replied, "Don't be passive-aggressive." Mom added, "We all have responsibilities, Taylor." That's when I noticed something strange. The 3 little dots appeared, someone was typing. Then they disappeared, they came back.
Disappeared again. Back. Gone. Someone was hovering.
Then a private message popped up, not from family, but from David Chun. "I saw your message," he wrote. Nancy forwarded me the group chat because she was concerned. "I'm already at SeaTac Gate B7. Don't take an Uber." I blinked, confused. David Chung lived in San Francisco. What was he doing at SeaTac? Another message. "I flew up this morning." No one should be alone after brain surgery, especially not someone who spends her life taking care of others. I stared at my screen, stunned.
Tears welled up hot, unexpected. Back in the group chat, the wedding discussion raged on.
Napkin colors, plate rentals. No one even noticed I'd gone silent. But someone had noticed. Someone important. I turned off my phone and boarded the plane. Maria's words echoed in my mind. "We take care of our own." Turns out, someone had decided I was worth taking care of. And he was waiting at Gate B7. Seattle felt colder than I remembered, even in spring. The moment I stepped off the plane, my legs wobbled. A flight attendant offered me an arm, worried by the medical bracelet still clinging to my wrist. "Is someone meeting you, sweetie?" she asked gently. I nodded. "Yes," I said. "Someone is." I didn't know what to expect, maybe a driver holding a sign. But as I approached the escalator, there he was. David Chun, in a dark tailored coat, standing beside baggage claim holding a sign with my name, written in black Sharpie on printer paper. The CEO of a multi-billion-dollar hospital system looked like an airport limo driver by choice. "Taylor," he said, stepping forward with a calm smile. "How are you feeling?" I almost answered with my usual, "I'm fine," but I saw something in his eyes, genuine concern. So I told the truth. Honestly, like someone scooped out part of my brain with a melon baller, he chuckled. "That is the first honest thing I've heard you say about yourself in 3 years." He took my bag before I could protest and offered an arm when I wobbled again. Outside, a sleek town car waited. Inside, my favorite coconut water, a memory foam neck pillow, and my exact prescribed pain medication. "How did you—" "I called Dr. Martinez," he said. "We did our residencies together." He told me about a nurse with no visitors who apologized for being a burden while recovering from brain surgery. The car ride felt surreal. He told me he'd been watching my work quietly for over a year. The late nights, the extra shifts, the way I stayed with scared kids long after my shift ended. The secret fund I'd started to cover parking for low-income families. "You give everything to everyone," he said. "But who gives to you?" I didn't know how to answer that. We pulled up to my apartment. He'd arranged for a visiting nurse to stop by daily. My fridge was stocked. The table held a vase of sunflowers handpicked, he said, by one of the kids in my ward. "Lily, this is too much," I whispered. "No," he said. "This is what family does." Real family. Before he left, he handed me a small envelope. Open when you're feeling better, he said. I didn't open it yet. I didn't need to. Because that moment standing in my apartment with sunflowers blooming and the scent of clean linens replacing hospital sterility, I realized something. My life wasn't ending. It was just beginning. And it was no longer shaped by people who couldn't be bothered to pick me up. It was being shaped by people who chose me. Jessica's wedding was a week away. I still hadn't fully recovered, but I was expected to attend. Of course I was, after all. I'd paid for 30% of it. That little fact was never mentioned aloud, but everyone conveniently forgot how many times my bank account had bailed Jessica out. The invitation said, formal. The group chat buzzed with last-minute planning, and suddenly, for the first time in years, I was invited to sit at the main table. Not the kids' table, not the overflow seating near the DJ booth. The main table. Interesting how that changed after David Chun showed up. Mom called to check in. Her tone had shifted soft, syrupy. Sweetie, how are you feeling? Will David be joining us at the wedding? It would be such an honor to have him. Translation. We're suddenly proud of you now that someone important thinks you matter. I kept it vague. He's busy. Work stuff. Jessica messaged me separately. Please bring him. Robert's firm is trying to land a contract with his hospital system. It would mean everything to us. Everything. They didn't ask how I was feeling post-surgery. Didn't ask if I needed anything for the wedding. Just bring David. I didn't confirm anything. They'd already shown me where I stood. I arrived at the Fairmont Olympic Hotel with a fresh dress and a guarded smile. The venue was dripping with luxury gold trim, white roses, candle-lit centerpieces that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Mom greeted me with fake warmth. Taylor, darling, you're glowing. Probably the steroids. But sure, the seating chart had my name right next to Jessica's. We wanted you close, she said, flashing teeth, not warmth. They weren't welcoming me, they were positioning me. Every glance, every whispered comment circled back to one thing. Would David be arriving? Jessica kept scanning the entrance like a debutante waiting for royalty. It was surreal. After years of being ignored, overlooked, downplayed, I was suddenly the one with power. Not because I'd changed, but because someone powerful had seen me. Now everyone else was scrambling to catch up, and they were about to get whiplash. I sat through the ceremony in silence, watching Jessica's carefully curated fairy tale unfold. Guests clapped, champagne flowed, and the air reeked of wealth and performance. But I wasn't the same woman who used to beg for their approval. They just didn't know that yet. The reception began. My name was beautifully scripted on a place card at the main table between Jessica and a business associate of Robert S., strategically placed, like a prized token. I smiled. Let them arrange their show, because the real fireworks hadn't started. And I hadn't opened that envelope from David yet. The ballroom glittered with perfection. A string quartet played softly as guests sipped champagne and admired the imported roses. Jessica looked radiant in her designer gown, basking in the spotlight she believed she'd earned. I sat at the main table like an honored guest, though we all knew I was there as a placeholder, a conversation piece. Taylor, the nurse who knows David Chun. I should have known it was a setup. Dinner had barely been cleared when Mom stood and tapped her glass with a spoon. The mic was passed. Her voice rang through the room, rehearsed and saccharine. I just want to say how proud I am of my daughter Jessica. She's everything a mother could want, smart, successful, poised. She's making partners soon, did you know that? Applause followed. Jessica smiled like a queen. Then Mom turned to me. And of course, there's Taylor. She's in healthcare. A pause. A noble career. Not everyone can be exceptional. Laughter rippled. Small, polite, but I heard it, every syllable. Jessica stood, wine glass in hand. Taylor's always been consistent, she said, smirking. Even when she got divorced, she didn't let it slow her down. She's the kind of person who supports others. A behind-the-scenes type. Robert joined in, chuckling. Yeah, not everyone needs to lead the parade. Some people make great support staff. Their words sliced cleaner than any scalpel. Public, intentional, humiliating. Then Mom again. She even expected us to pick her up from the airport after her minor surgery. Can you imagine? On wedding prep weekend, The mic was now a weapon. She could have called an Uber, Jessica added, but she wanted a scene. She always wants a scene. My hands were shaking. I started to stand, but then the ballroom doors opened. David Chun walked in, sharp in a charcoal tuxedo, and the room stopped breathing. Conversations cut off mid-sentence. Champagne flutes hovered mid-air. One of Robert's partners whispered, "Is that David Chun?" He walked straight to me, calm and focused. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "The board meeting ran long. But I came for a reason." Before I could respond, he turned to the room, took the mic from the MC, and spoke. "I'm David Chun, CEO of St. Mary's Health System. I'm here tonight to recognize Taylor Parker, who has just been appointed our youngest chief nursing officer in history." The silence broke like glass. Taylor leads a team of 200 nurses. She manages a $15 million department. She held the hand of a dying child for 17 hours straight last month. While others were planning centerpieces, she was saving lives. Mom's face blanched. Jessica dropped her glass. "And that minor surgery?" "It was brain surgery, alone, because her family was too busy." David looked directly at Jessica. She didn't ask for much. Just a ride. He handed the mic back. "I came tonight not just to celebrate her, but to remind her she doesn't need to shrink for anyone. Especially not here."
He turned to me. "Ready to go?" I nodded.
The room had nothing left to say. David's words hit the ballroom like a thunderclap. The applause was hesitant at first, then undeniable. People stood. Some clapped out of respect. Others because they didn't want to look like the kind of people who sided with Jessica anymore. I didn't need to say a word. The truth had already hit harder than any speech could. We walked out together. But the real fireworks were still to come. Within 48 hours, Robert's firm lost the St. Mary's account along with every other hospital in David's network. Turns out David sat on 3 different healthcare boards. He didn't blacklist Robert's firm out of spite. He did it because of values. And disrespecting a nurse who had just recovered from brain surgery? That crossed the line. Jessica's honeymoon turned into damage control. Her LinkedIn suddenly changed to "on sabbatical." Robert's partners were furious. And their marriage cracked before their wedding photos were even edited. Mom tried calling 16 times in one day. When that didn't work, she showed up at the hospital with a bouquet and a forced smile. Security stopped her at the lobby. "She's flagged," they told her. "Patient distress history," she left in tears. Left a voicemail. "How could you ban your own mother?" "I hadn't banned her. I just told the truth. You caused me medical distress." That was enough. The group chat went quiet, then exploded again. Beth posted a selfie with me from 5 years ago. "So proud of my cousin." The same cousin who didn't reply to my surgery text. Uncle Jim sent an email full of apologies and a link to his consulting firm's website, just in case you ever need anything. Aunt Carol posted a Facebook status about family drama and forgiveness, the same aunt who'd voted for peonies over my well-being. Everyone wanted proximity now, but not to me. To power. To David. But they forgot I wasn't powerless anymore. I had a title, a salary, a department that respected me. But more than that, I had boundaries. I no longer entertained apologies made out of embarrassment. Or love offered only when it's convenient. Jessica texted one night, "You ruined my wedding." "You did this on purpose." "No," I replied. "You did this to yourself. I just stopped covering for you." And just like that, the power shifted. Not because I became someone new, but because I finally stopped letting people pretend I was someone small. I had been the foundation for years, and they only noticed once I walked away. The silence after the storm felt like peace. Not the kind you beg for, but the kind you build. Back at work, everything changed. People I barely knew started calling me by name. The cafeteria staff waved when I walked by. Nurses stopped me in the hallway to say, "About time someone stood up for us." The story had traveled fast not just through our hospital, but across the entire nursing community. My quiet resignation from being the family doormat had become a rallying cry. With David's support, I launched a new initiative, the Healthcare Heroes Support Program. Designed for nurses, doctors, and staff navigating toxic family dynamics, it offered everything from trauma counseling to legal aid for setting boundaries. In its first month, we helped dozens of healthcare workers take back their lives. One of them was Maria, the nurse who sat with me in Houston. She'd been living with a sister who drained her savings and mocked her schedule. "Watching you leave that ballroom gave me courage," she said. That meant more than any job title ever could. Meanwhile, the pediatric ward became my sanctuary. The kids had no idea what had happened, but they felt it. I smiled more. I stood taller. I didn't flinch when my phone buzzed. Lily, now in remission, brought me a drawing. 2 stick figures holding hands. One wore a cape. "That's you," she said. "You're my real-life superhero." I hung it on my office wall next to my new CNO nameplate and the photo of my nursing school graduation. My past, my present, and who I'd chosen to become. David and I never blurred the line into romance. What we built was deeper: respect, trust, chosen family. The kind that shows up, the kind that listens, the kind that doesn't ask what you can give them, but what you need. Nancy, my mentor, became my closest friend. On hard days, she reminded me, "You don't owe anyone your silence." And for the first time, I believed her. I wasn't the family disappointment anymore. I wasn't their emotional punching bag or their piggy bank or the background character in Jessica's highlight reel. I was Taylor Parker. A woman who walked into a wedding to be humiliated and walked out as a leader. A woman who chose herself and found a family that clapped for her, not because she was useful, but because she was worth it. And that made all the difference. 1 year after brain surgery, I stood on stage, not as the overlooked sister, but as a leader, a survivor, and someone who finally chose herself. If you've ever felt invisible, unappreciated, or used by the people who should have loved you most, know this: you're not alone. You deserve better. You deserve to be seen, celebrated, and supported. Sometimes, the family you build is far stronger than the one you're born into.